Welcome to the cockpit. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. Boys and girls, I am all sorts of excited to talk to you. We're going to talk a little Jets GM interview action, some of the thoughts from yesterday's game. We've had a day to kind of digest it. We could talk a little bit about the draft. We could talk about all the things you guys and girls want to talk about out there. I'm just excited to be here with you, flying the ship, as it were. I'll go into some call-ins around 8:30, and then 8:30 to 9 o'clock, we'll do those call-ins. You get 3 minutes on the clock. Nope, 2 minutes. Sorry, I lied. And after 2 minutes...
That's it! You're out of here!
That's right. You get ejected from the cockpit. So I'll give you guys my thoughts on where everything stands right now. And we'll go into some of these GM candidates that we're bringing in for interviews. I do have a poll question in the chat if you guys would like to answer it. If you're watching after the fact and you'd like to leave your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear this. Which GM candidate do you like most? The Jets have looked at 3 different candidates: Louis Riddick, an ESPN analyst; John Robinson, former Titans GM; and Thomas Dimitroff, the Falcons GM, former Falcons GM. So you guys vote on that as we go throughout the night. But yeah, guys, we won a game yesterday. We won a game. A lot of Jet fans feeling a whole sort of a way about it too. They wanted that top draft pick. If the Jets had lost, we'd be sitting in the 4th spot. Jets wind up winning. Jets are currently sitting in the 8th spot right now. You guys know, I was very much all game for the tank. Lose as many games as possible. It's okay. I'm not getting myself beat up over this. And I'll tell you why. Because I think winning these games in the fashion that we're winning, or the fashion that we're competitive, like the last 3 weeks since the bye week, the Seahawks game, the Dolphins game, and now the Jaguars game, Aaron Rodgers has looked dramatically better. I feel like the connection between him and Davante Adams is clear. Olu Fashanu looks like an absolute stud on the left-hand side. We had seen positive signs throughout the entirety of the season when he's played, but he's really looked good at home at that left-hand side. That's making me feel very, very happy as well. Garrett Wilson is feasting still, not having the numbers that, Davante had this past week, but it's okay. Still all right. Garrett Wilson, 56 yards and a touchdown. Davante Adams, 198 and 2 touchdowns. Almost had 3 touchdowns and almost a clear 200 yards. Very, very close there on those final plays. But look, I know a lot of us, a few weeks ago, we're very much off this Aaron Rodgers carousel. I think there's still a lot of Jet fans that feel I don't want to have Aaron Rodgers here, the headaches and all the drama that goes with it, who's going to want to deal with this, all that good stuff. My argument is I don't think Rodgers performing well, performing like a top 15 quarterback is ever going to be seen as a bad thing. I don't think there's no way that this looks like a bad deal if you're a GM looking at the New York Jets. If you were thinking like, oh, hey, I can move off Aaron Rodgers, that's fine. I think the new GM and the new head coach can sit down together and make that decision and say, hey, look, do we want to move forward with Aaron Rodgers? Is that the right move? Let them make the decision. Take it entirely out of Woody's hands. Now, me personally, I do think that bringing back Aaron Rodgers, trying to run it back with the talent we have on the roster under a new regime is the correct way to go about it. I think you get the best bang for your buck in terms of salary cap space. If Rodgers retires or we cut him, we get a lot of dead cap space, dead cap hits in next year's salary cap season. So we wouldn't have a whole lot to kind of work with anyway. So you could take all your medicine in 1 year if you really want to do that. On the flip side, if he stays an extra year, you get an additional chunk of dead cap that will be hitting you in 2026. Now, because you have limited assets on the books for 2026, you can take that cap hit much easier then. Now, I imagine when we re-extend or offer some type of restructured contract to Davante Adams, there will be dead cap that pushes into 2026. And you might feel a little more inclined to split that over 2 years because there is just so much cap space at that particular point in time that it's going to be it's not going to hurt quite as much as it would if you were to pull the Band-Aid off this year, even though the cap number is a little bit lower. I do think it's good to have Aaron Rodgers back. I think if he continues to trend in the direction he's trending, if he plays like he did yesterday for these next 3 games, I'm going to be feeling really confident going into next year. I mean, talk about a bridge quarterback that you could possibly want in this league. Let's talk about the skill level. Is there any bridge quarterback that's on the Aaron Rodgers level of potential success? Like, this guy coming back from injury, like, we might be getting a pretty damn good quarterback once he's a full year and a half removed from that Achilles injury. Took some time. Now, there's a lot of moving pieces that go into it. There's the GM search. There's the head coach search. Does the offensive coordinator with this new regime line up with Aaron Rodgers? Is Rodgers able to digest this playbook? Do they have some sort of hybrid that they're running through? I don't want our head coach and GM and offensive staff to be dictated by Aaron Rodgers. I want him to, if you want to bend the system a little bit to him, I'm totally fine with that. But the overarching bones and the meat and potatoes of this next regime need to be about the future, not about the now. Because the now and the future. So, to that respect, I say Vrabel's still number one on my list. We'll be talking about Vrabel a lot until he winds up going to a new team or until the Jets hire someone else. We do have some of his old staff here. Keith Carter, Todd Downing, two names that don't really, make Jet fans feel a total warm and fuzzy feeling. But look, Keith Carter's got one of the better offensive lines we've seen for the New York Jets in the last decade. I have a very hard time poking holes in his coaching. Even though I had issues with how his players have talked about him in the past, he very much seems like he's at the very least getting this line to work the way it should right now. Some of the clips from yesterday's game, Aaron Rodgers had a zillion minutes back there to try and throw the ball. That's what you want. Now, from a play calling perspective, if Vrabel comes in, you could, in theory, keep Todd Downing. Todd Downing was under his watch in Tennessee. Now, maybe there's a situation where you say, okay, hey, Todd, you're going to be the one that calls the plays for Rodgers right now. We've got this other guy, this quarterback coach, or we have, an OC or whatever that's going to be hands-on with a young quarterback, whether that be Jordan Travis, who gets a second year in a system then. Haven't had that in a while. Or if it's a new offensive staff and he wants to operate a little bit more in where they would like to go as opposed to necessarily drilling everything down into the way Rodgers wants to do it. I think there's some beauty in retaining that kind of staff that I don't think has really been the crux of our issues. I think Hackett's been a problem. I think head coach has been a problem. And I think you can solve both those by removing them from the situation. So lots of things to get into. Matt chimes in. Matt, what's up, dude? Says, Aaron Glenn as head coach. Bring someone from Detroit to run next year's offense with Rodgers and Adams. Thoughts? So Aaron Glenn, I do really like. I saw a really cool clip from him. I believe it was Lions Hard Knocks when they first got, when Campbell first got to Detroit. I think that's when it was. And there was like an Aaron Glenn speech in the back, where the players meet and everything. And he goes into I've been a player. I know all that. It's all about hard work and all about that. Just a real dude. You could go to war with this guy. So I've softened up on Aaron Glenn. I kind of viewed him more as defensive guy, hasn't been a head coach before, don't really want to go that route. But he seems like he would very much want the Jets job. And that is a trait I do want to have. I think there was some value in what Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh used to say about players that wanted to be here. We don't want just good football players. We want football players that want to be good for the New York Jets. Because wanting to be somewhere is just such a huge part of any job. If you are you could be in the best spot possible for a job, but if you're fucking miserable every day you go to work, you're not going to put forward your best effort. If you enjoy where you work, you enjoy coming in and working day after day with your coworkers, you're going to put in that little extra effort. And I think that's how things work in the NFL the same way. So Aaron Glenn, to that respect, is someone I very much am on board with. Still wouldn't be my top option. I would say Vrabel, Flores, then Aaron Glenn might be third. Top 5 for me for sure. Would not be upset with this. As far as getting someone from Detroit's offensive staff with Rodgers and Adams, I'm down with that. I don't know who it would be and who is Ben Johnson pulling with him. Because if he's going to be a head coach somewhere, you would think the quarterback's coach or the passing game coordinator would be that team's offensive coordinator then. Even if it's just a name for a little bit. And then maybe someone else gets elevated within the Lions organization. Who exactly would we be pulling? The mindset of it, I am on board with. I like that, Matt. Vinny, what's good, man? Thank you so much for the super chat. It says, we need to change the culture around accountability, and new leadership will do that. We aren't losing because of talent. It's all execution and discipline. I'd give A-Rod another shot with Rex or Vrabel. I agree. I want to see A-Rod back here with a new regime. I think the players on this roster, I still think it's the most talented roster I've ever seen from a Jets fan perspective. Maybe there's the top end of the 2009, 2010 team was really, really good. But this is a very strong team. There's areas to fix. You got to fix the defensive line. You need someone to replace John Franklin Myers to be that big space eater. You need to bring in, probably a safety or two on the back end. Do you need a replacement at wide receiver? If you're going to cut Allen Lazard, where does Corley fit into this? How does the contract status of Garrett Wilson, Davante Adams play into it? There are a lot of hurdles that come into this. But overall, I agree. The biggest issue with this team right now is accountability and leadership. We are constantly making plays that I am just scratching my head over. Like, a minute left in the game. You're first and goal from the 1. You can run out this clock, and you just hope your kicker kicks it, wins, and it's over. Like, there would be almost no time left. Now, it worked out, so it's hard for me to be upset with it. But that was a very funky situation. And this has happened multiple times, whether it's going for it on fourth down or not going for it on fourth down, or there's just a lot of confusion to me. When to use challenges, when not to use challenges, timeouts, the clock running out, whether that's on Rodgers or the play caller getting the play in or whatever it is. Something within this team just could not figure it out. So I agree. You get new coaching staff in here. This team looks drastically different. Drastically different. Vernon says, Dimitrov, best right now, but I would be very surprised if they hire any of these initial guys. Feels like Woody plus the 33rd team hire, one of the obvious ones. So I definitely think the people we're interviewing right now, well, first off, the people we're interviewing right now are guys that do not have jobs within the NFL. Those are guys that you're allowed to interview at the end of the season. Once team seasons are done and as playoff teams get eliminated, you can start interviewing some of these other guys. Glenn Cook, the VP of player personnel, is that what his job is over at the Browns? He's the guy for GM that I would keep a strong eye on. He interviewed with the Titans after John Robinson was let go. And Rand Carthon wound up getting the GM job. And then Vrabel winds up getting fired the following year. Funny enough, Vrabel ends up with the Browns, which is where Glenn Cook came from. So I think Vrabel and Cook appear to be a match that I would like to try and link up. Not to mention there's some good players on that Browns team. The turnaround going from like the era of Baker Mayfield through this Deshaun Watson experience. They've had some really good players, less the Deshaun Watson contract. That would be where I would go. But I agree, Vernon. These guys are probably not what's going to be brought in the end. Mark from Asbury Park says, Reddick talked me off the ledge on the old Twitter once. Gave me his advice. Solid dude. Well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty nice. I mean, Louis Reddick seems like a pretty solid dude. I'll go into all their credentials and whatnot in just a little bit here. Just want to get your overarching thoughts on some of this stuff. Matt says, Adams and Garrett is the #1 wide receiver duo in the league. Chase Higgins and Brown Smith are not better, in my opinion. Adams and Garrett have got to be in that top 3. Chase Higgins, Higgins is never healthy, so that's always a problem. Brown and Smith is really lethal. Jefferson and would it be Hawkinson on the Vikings? Or who would it be? Who would the other guy be if you had to pick a duo over there? There's a few good tandems of receivers around the league, but the Jets got to have a top 5 one in that. Adams and Garrett, you got to pick one to cover or one to double team. The other one's going to get open all the time. All the time. All right. Let's see. Let's go over, before I get too far into this stream, powered by BetUS. If you guys don't know, get a 150% bonus match on your first deposit up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. The Jets' remaining schedule: Rams, Bills, Dolphins. How many games do you think the Jets win? I am on record saying I thought the Jets would win the Jaguars game, and I think we're going to win the final game of the season against the Dolphins in MetLife in January, because that's just how we roll. Jets are going to be sitting at a cool pick 10 or 11 by the time this is all said and done. Again, I don't really care where we pick this year because I think there's a lot of potential needs that we could have, and I'm not overly concerned one way or the other. But I do think we get one more win here. Let me know in the comment section what you think. But thank you so much, BetUS, for sponsoring the show. Let's see. I see in the chat, Jefferson Addison is a good one. Metcalf and Smith Njigba is a really good one as well. Ted says, crazy thought here. If Mike McCarthy gets fired from Dallas, do you think he could run it one last time, Rodgers and the Jets? I don't want him, if that's what you're asking. I do not want Mike McCarthy. I think he's severely underperformed with a Dallas team that I thought was really, really good. Whether that's a knock on Dak or a knock on the other players there, I look at it as more of a knock on McCarthy. All right. Let's see. Let's go over to my GM candidates. I shouldn't say my GM candidates, but a few guys that we're talking about. Louis Riddick, brought him in the other day, or are bringing him in. We had 2 rumors. I don't know. Did we interview these guys? I don't know if we interviewed both of them yet. Louis Riddick, ESPN announcer, was a player from 91 to 99. He was a Redskins scout from 2001 to 2007, Eagles scout in 2008, assistant director of player personnel in 2009, and the Eagles director of pro personnel from 2010 to 2013. So it's been a decade since he's been in a league office, but he's been around the NFL for basically the entirety of that time. Career NFL guy. To me, this is one of those outside the box type hirings that you see for like draft analysis and stuff. As much as I like Riddick, I don't know if this is the direction I would necessarily go. Memory doesn't serve that the Redskins teams from 2001 to 2007 were very good. And then from the Eagles side of things, he was there during the stretch of time they had that really explosive year with Deshaun Jackson and Michael Vick and all those guys. I don't know how much of a hand he would have had in that, but obviously was with Coach Andy Reid. So maybe there's some threads he can pull on. Maybe that makes him a little more appealing. I do like pulling from the Eagles coaching tree or GM tree or whatever you want to say, because I do think they have a good foundation in place. Not to mention, similar to like the Ravens and whatnot. So Riddick, interesting choice. I don't know if I'd go this route. The other one I saw was John Robinson, former Titans GM. He was a scout for the Patriots from 2002 to 2008, director of college scouting with the Patriots from 2009 to 2012, director of player personnel from 2013 to 2015, and the Titans GM from 2016 to 2022. So this guy drafted, he's got Derrick Henry under his belt, A.J. Brown under his belt. So he's got a few good players that he's brought in. Obviously, he took him to the playoffs. What was it, two times in that stretch with Vrabel? I would be all right with this. Now, if Vrabel really likes this guy, that does make me want to hire him a little bit more. So I would say from that perspective, he has an inside track, but I don't really... None of these guys really give me the overwhelming warm and fuzzies. And then we got today's news, Thomas Dimitroff from Atlanta, the former Falcons GM, interviewed with the New York Jets. He was a scout for the Lions, the Chiefs, the Browns, and the Patriots. He was the director of college scouting from 2003 to 2007. So John Robinson may have succeeded him in New England if I have those slides right. And then he was the Falcons GM for a long time, 12 years, 2008 to 2020. Drafted Matt Ryan. Did he draft Matt? Yeah, I think he drafted Matt Ryan in that 2008 year. I think that was his first draft pick. Obviously went to the Super Bowl in 2016 with the Shanahan offense, Dan Quinn regime. So there's a lot to like for how he built it up. Never really had a defense. Defense has never really been the Jets' problem. Got to get an offense. So maybe that's something you like. He is aggressive. He made a highly aggressive trade to go up and get Julio Jones. What was that, 2010? Is that when he was in the league? I think it was 2010. It was early on in his time as a GM. Very, very aggressive. He wound up bringing in Michael Turner, good running back from the Chargers a while back. So the guy knows talent, been around the league. He's been working as let's see what his current thing is. He's working as like some assistant dude. In January 2022, Dimitrov began working alongside American billionaire hedge fund manager Paul Tudor Jones and his son Jack Jones to create a football analytics company named Sumer Sports, in which he is the CEO. The company is aimed at creating precision in player acquisition and roster management in the NFL. So it basically sounds like we're hiring what the equivalent of the 33rd team is, but as like, a competitor maybe? Is that what you'd say? He was fired in 2020 along with Dan Quinn following the team's 0-5 start to the season. So that's kind of where he trailed off in his career. Looks like he should be a part of like Law and Order. He looks like one of those old Law and Order guys. I don't know. Maybe that's just me going nuts. So those are our three guys. You can vote in the comment section what you think on the Jets' latest GM search. You got those three candidates. We got 83 votes in the chat right now. Seems like it's pretty evenly split between Louis Riddick and Thomas Dimitrov, with John Robinson coming up the rear. Cameron comes in. What's up, Cameron? Says, if Mike Vrabel would sign off on Thomas Dimitrov, I would be good with that pairing. If Vrabel would sign off on any tandem, I think I'm okay. Because as much as I want the GM to like get shit right, I feel like the head coach right now is just so important. Obviously a good scouting background. I like that Dimitrov has a very heavy scouting background, being a scout from 1993. Actually, an NFL scout in 1990 with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Then in 92 was an NFL scout for the World League of American Football. And then he was a scout from 93 with the Chiefs, 94 to 97 with the Lions, 98 to 2001 with the Browns, the Patriots in 2002, and then obviously director of college scouting, 03 to 07, and then the GM role from 2008 to 2020. So he's at least been around winning, which is good. He's got 2 Super Bowl championships with the Patriots, so he's got to be feeling pretty good about that. Kind of nice. I don't know how much scouting success he had while there. I remember not the best drafts under Bill Belichick, but we'll see. I would sign off on it too, Cameron. Matt, thank you so much for joining the first class tier. Greatly appreciated, sir. Let's drop some JETS in the... Where's my JETS? Where's my button? My daughter winds up hitting my little light panel switches, and I wind up having the wrong ones up. Oh, always great. Thank you. Greatly appreciated to have you supporting the show. Bill Belichick was our best option to run it back next year. I brought up Belichick's name a few times because Rodgers and Bill Belichick did talk about being on the same team at one point before Rodgers left Green Bay. More of like a dream of like, it's one guy I always wanted to work with. I don't think Belichick was ever actually going to come here. I know he said, I expressed interest in the New York Jets job, but I almost feel like that was like, I just want to give him one more jab out the door. I don't know how much he really would have actually coached here. Life Force says hard pass on McCarthy. I completely agree. Out of those 3, I would like Louis Riddick, says Adrian. Kaiser, what's good, dude? Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams. A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith are 2 good ones for wide receiver duos. Yeah, I was going to say that. I don't know how... I honestly have not watched much of Jameson Williams. I loved him coming out of the draft. He has been a little underwhelming until that part, but I don't know. Don't know how he's been as of late. Been a little busy. It's all right. Clamor saying he played part in the Aaron Hernandez, talking about Dimitrov. Pat's got some serious wideouts. You could trust this dude's judge of character. Yeah, maybe not so much. Sam Darnold's lighting it up. Love me some Sammy boy. Always will. Kaiser, Jets need someone at head coach with experience that will fix the chemistry and discipline problems. I don't know if I would bring in another coordinator as head coach. No, I want someone who's got some gumption, someone who's been a head coach before. Phil's with me. Whoever Vrabel wants as GM. That's right. Jets should have kept Darnold and drafted Penei Sewell. Yeah, look, we don't know how long it would have taken Sam to be good here in New York. Maybe he would have clicked under LaFleur initially and, would have had his grooming woes. But he played down in Carolina, was not very good. He played with Shanahan in San Francisco, and he was not very good. This year, fucking crushing it. He's got the best receiver in the game with him. But he's crushing it. Good for him. Dimitrov, very experienced GM. Yes. Lots of it there. The Bears have already checked out this offseason. Yeah, they were done. I thought we were not going to show any fight, but I'm a little surprised we are showing as much as we are. I think it's a good thing. Guaranteed elite quarterback, O-line play, and offense if you get someone from Green Bay. I don't know, dude. I feel like Rodgers very much wanted to leave everyone in the dust in Green Bay. I don't know if we're going to go back to that well. And I don't know if those guys leaving Green Bay necessarily want to come over to the New York Jets with Rodgers. We'll see. I guess it depends how many friends he's got. Not that it's all focused on Rodgers. He's only going to be here for one more year, but I think it's something to monitor at the very least. Jets 7385. What's up, dude? Thank you. Youngest roster in the league by far. Talking about the Packers. Matt, I really want Agnew as GM and Glenn as head coach. I would be cool with that. I feel like there's a calming presence with Aaron Glenn. Like, he, to me, doesn't appear to get too hot or too cold. Now, maybe we want some aggression on the sidelines. I know fans are always perked up about that. Like, I just want to see Sally yell at someone. I just want to see Todd Bowles yell at someone. I don't know. Ricky, should have added another option for other. Is there a fourth guy that we interviewed? Those are the three guys we interviewed. Love Vrabel, though, says Matt. What's up, Wild Wave? Good to have you in there. Kaiser says Vrabel's his top option as well. Billy, Mike McCarthy is an experienced head coach who brings his staff. I wouldn't ignore him as a possibility. I would. I don't want Mike McCarthy. I'm sorry. You're not wrong. He could bring a staff, but Adam Gase could bring a staff too. So I'm going to say no. Complete Lawn Care. Established 2021. Grabner. Nice to have you in here. Watch us win out and win 7 games again. Yeah, right? Look, I don't care where we pick in the draft because I don't know what direction we're going to go. With sitting at the 8th pick right now, I'm somewhere between defensive line and offensive line. I feel like we're bringing back Rodgers and Davante, so the receiver is a little less important in the first round. I think quarterback, I would have loved to get 𝐂𝐼𝐼 from Penn State. He's going back to school for another year, so that means Milroe will probably be the most, I don't want to say reasonable, but will be like the top quarterback the Jets might be able to get, assuming Cam Ward and Sanders are off the board 1-2 to the Giants and the Raiders. So I'm interested to see if the Jets punt on this year for quarterback. And they just load up the rest of the roster. You get your right tackle of the future. Maybe you try to bring back Moses, but you have, that guy from the first round maybe as an heir apparent. Now all of a sudden you've got a locked and loaded offensive line for the next quarterback that comes in. Do they go with a defensive lineman to complement Quinnen Williams? Does Mason Graham fall to the Jets at number 8? Mason Graham's the top player on my board for the Jets. And then after that, I get a little squirrely. Abdul Carter's interesting, but does it get redundant with JJ? You hope he comes back. Do you give him the opportunity to come back before you pull the trigger on another edge rusher? Is it good having another one in the hopper? If he doesn't turn out, we know what our team looks like without edge rushers. I don't know. I don't want to go cornerback, not really at least. I'd prefer to bring back Eccles and hope Stiggers kind of develops. If we have to give up a little bit of the success on defense to have more success on offense, I'm kind of okay with that. Matt says, for me, Glenn is compelling because he essentially is studying the head coaching position under Campbell, who has done a fantastic job, and he really wants to be a Jet. Him wanting to be a Jet is the most attractive thing to me. That's a knock on Glenn. That's not supposed to be. I don't particularly want a defensive guy, but I want someone who has head coach experience. And Aaron Glenn is a defensive guy that doesn't have head coach experience. And that's the part that's a little, I'm a little discombobulated on. but I would, as far as defensive guys go that haven't been head coaches before, I like him. He would be above Rex Ryan on my list for sure. Billy says Rex is a possibility. If you bring back Rodgers, Rex would fit the defense, and all he needs is a really good offensive coordinator. Yeah, but where are you getting that offensive coordinator? And I think people forget the final 6 years of Rex. Rex's first 2 years with us did a great job with Mangini's team. After that, not so good with us and horrible with the Bills. I don't know. Rex is not a serious option, in my opinion. Lifeforce says Sam's got a former quarterback as a head coach and the best wide receiver tandem in the NFL. He plays in a dome. Yeah, I mean, maybe he stays in Vegas or in Minnesota. I think they brought over Daniel Jones to kind of be that bridge quarterback for JJ. I really think there's a good shot that Sam's leaving after this year. But who knows? Maybe they get him for like a 2-year Band-Aid contract. I don't think they're going to sign him to a long-term deal with JJ still there. I've been kind of thinking maybe the Rams as an heir apparent to Stafford. I could see that. Emanon, can't wait for the offseason. Yeah, I like knowing where our draft position is going to go, who our head coach is going to be. Let's start pitting the puzzle pieces together for players around the league. Want to do it. Jets 7385, Vrabel or Glenn? Ray Agnew as GM. Yes, sign me up. Phil says, I would like Graham, the Michigan cornerback, or one of the top 2 wide receivers. So I'll have to do more research into the other wide receivers. The top receiver on my board was McMillan, the Arizona wide receiver. I really like him. Dude catches everything around him, and he's like 6'5", so he provides a different play style than maybe some of our other guys. I think there's a good shot next year. We're seeing Davante Adams, Garrett Wilson, and a reworked contract from Allen Lazard coming back with Rodgers. Obviously, you got Corley waiting in the wings. I wouldn't shock me if they take another receiver in the second or third, maybe not second round, but probably third round. I think we'll take tight end high. Tight end could be a first-round pick if you trade down. That would get me a little salty, right? Had your opportunity at Bowers. You wind up passing on him. Olu looks like a stud. Can't think twice about it. Can we rehire Joe Douglas? I wouldn't hire Mangini for GM, or I would hire Mangini for GM, but I know that's not going to happen. Dude, stranger things have happened. Who knows? Lifeforce, love Glenn. What he has done with like 15 defensive players out this year is amazing. Yeah, I mean, it does help when you have a huge lead on the other side of the ball. Defense gets a lot easier when the other team's offense is one-dimensional. Clamor, what's Mason Graham's best at? Pass rushing or run stopping? Based on his statistics, it feels like it's run stopping. I don't think he's got a whole lot of... let me see. I don't think he's got a whole lot of sacks. 3.5 sacks. Yeah, he's got the most sacks of his career this year, 3.5. He had 3 last year, 2.5 the year before. Total tackles, 45 this year, 36 last year, 27 the year before. He plays in like every game. So health has been a real, nice thing to see from him. Yeah, I don't know. Just seems like a stud all the way around. The little bit of highlights I watched, he looks pretty good. He'll get sacks, but he's not like I would say he's not like a Quinnen Williams coming out of the draft where you felt like this guy's going to create a ton of interior pressure. I think this guy's a little bit more of a hog, but we need that. Isaac says, whatever happened to Jordan Travis? He's on IR. We're not going to see him this year. We'll see him maybe in preseason. Well, we'll definitely see him in preseason next year. Just a matter of if he's going to additional competition or if it's going to be the 3 guys we currently have under roster. Drums! Ho, ho, ho! Nice to have you in here. Jordan Travis is Zach Wilson without the elite arm strength. We don't know that yet. He could also be Aaron Rodgers with mobility. Maybe. Who knows? Life Forces, boom, thank you. You're welcome. Mike says, I would hire Todd Monken as head coach, Flores as DC, Romo as OC. I would tell Flores he is the future head coach if Monken, due to Monken's age. But why would Flores leave Minnesota for an adjacent job? Flores is currently the defensive coordinator for the Vikings. I don't think he would want to leave for that. I like Monken a lot. Monken's a little bit older. Does he want to be a head coach? Does he want to move his family again? Maybe. And Roma is OC. I feel like that would be a pay cut considering where he was not all that long ago with the on-screen time he was getting. Antonio, Louis Riddick is a no for GM. He's always negative on the Jets, bashes the Jets. That one time he said on live TV, he said he's tired of talking about the Jets. He's a no. To be honest, I didn't realize that. But yeah, I'm on board with that answer. Fuck him. I never liked him anyway. Abreu, Roca. Man, I dream about Mark D'Antonio. Former MSU head coach is everything we need. Disciplined team, strong defense, and run game. And most important, we don't have to fear and win ugly, literally. College head coaches always scare the bejesus out of me. Now, that being said, Campbell from Iowa is really, from Iowa State is really attractive. Lincoln Riley from USC is really attractive. Would either guy leave? Probably not. Billy says, well, what was Vrabel's last few years with Tennessee like? We're making exceptions for Vrabel. Vrabel had a lot of injuries his last 2 years as the Titans head coach. And it seems like a lot of the issues were that he didn't really play nice in the sandbox, especially with the GM and the owner, and they were kind of making, headaches and whatnot. So I don't know. I think there's a lot more that goes into it. You probably have to parse through that, but I do think he's a very good X's and O's coach from a strategy standpoint. Vecht says, I'd love to trade back into the late teens, 20s, and draft Warren, the tight end from Penn State. Yeah, you just got to find someone to trade up with you. That's really going to be the issue. The running back from Boise State should go a little bit after the Jets, so maybe there's a team that would be willing to trade up into the top 10 to get that running back. The only issue is maybe you're not taking as good of a trade down. Maybe you're getting just a second-round pick and not a future first or something along those lines. Roca says, no, tight end is not a premium position. Yeah, but there's premium players that can be had at those positions. Brock Bowers is a stud. McBride is a stud. Like, there's guys that go in the top 2 rounds of the draft that are studs. And the Jets are in a position right now where we don't have a ton of stud primary positions of need. Like, you could argue, right tackle could be a primary need. Defensive tackle at the top of the draft, if Mason's there, I think is a top need. If he's not there, then that becomes a little less so for me. Edge rusher might be a little redundant. I would say I'm not against it, depending on how you feel about JJ, but I think I'd probably go the defensive tackle route first. And then outside of that, what other, we got receivers. I don't know if you're reaching on a quarterback in the first round. Are you going to go after Milroe in, the top half of the first round? I think that's eventually where he winds up. Guy's crazy fast. But does he ultimately end up there? Freedom House. I'd build the defense back up next year along with O-line. Yeah, I think the interior part of our D-line and the right tackle are going to be the 2 biggest areas of need, and then you fill in safety wherever you can. But you could get good safeties in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. Graham is a clogger. Yes, he is. Clamor says, if he's a run-stuffing specialist, then he should be number 1 on the draft board. Yeah, I think a lot of Jet fans are kind of falling for Graham for that exact reason. We are so bad at stopping the run. To put him next to Quinnen Williams alongside your other first-round picks, you can kind of balance everything out, and you don't necessarily step on the toes of JJ. You could take a swing at maybe a later edge rusher. Maybe you like some of the young guys that you have already as undrafted free agents. I like that. I like that route. Graham would be great. Graham would be great. But the Jets are pushing ourselves down the draft with meaningless wins, like usual. Yeah, unfortunately, I do think we're going to win against the Dolphins as well. And I think we're going to pick in that, 10 to 12, 8 to 12. We'll be somewhere in there. I don't think we're going higher than 7 right now. But who knows? Maybe other teams win and we push ourselves up the list a little bit further. Mike, what's up, dude? Thank you for the super chat. It says, off topic, but it's great seeing Sam Darnold ball out with the Vikings. Thoughts on Sam, and should the Jets have kept him? In hindsight, yeah, the Jets should have kept him and just exercised the 5th-year option. It'd be a lot of money and an overpay of Sam Darnold at that particular point in time, but maybe he figures it out with LaFleur here. And then ultimately you either take Penei Sewell or Jamar Chase, or you trade down with the massive haul of picks you would have gotten from the 49ers, and then maybe you take a Micah Parsons, and then you have all the extra first-round picks that you could have made other things happen with. So, yes, in hindsight, that would be the move to make. Would have been the move to make. Would he have worked out within those 2 years? Maybe not. He might still be looking for a quarterback. But maybe that means we're looking for a quarterback in like last year's draft and not so much in the drafts we already took. Ryan Day, some reports are that he is on the hot seat maybe. Interesting. Head coach from Ohio State. I guess that might make Garrett Wilson happy. Do they wind up bringing back like Justin Fields? Like, I don't know. I think we're in store for a Rodgers 2025 show. And I don't hate it. It might suck, but I don't hate it. I think we're definitely going to stink without him, but I think you have a chance of success if he does, continue on this trajectory. Drums, do you think the odds are good that we move to a 3-4? And if so, would that be a major overhaul? I don't know. Like, are you putting Quinnen at an end in that scenario? Or is Quinnen going to have to play like the nose tackle? We just have so many players that are such a fit for the wide nine. It would be a shame to switch everything up right now. I guess you could. Any coach in theory could. You'd have to see how flexible everyone else is. We definitely don't have 4 linebackers, which I think is more of a concern for me. Like, I'd rather us play 4 D linemen, 2 linebackers, and a bunch of secondary pieces because I feel more confident in that than anything else. Wild Wave says, since 𝐿𝑟 is going back to school, don't draft a quarterback. Get a bridge in free agency and let Tyrod, Travis, and whoever battle it out. So you are against Aaron Rodgers coming back, I take it. Cactus Johnny says, Reddick hasn't worked in an NFL office in over 11 years. What the fuck does he even bring to the table? Just a popular name on TV. It's really all it is. You saw other teams do it. The Raiders did it with, was it McShay? Was that the right name? I feel like that's wrong. They did it with one of the draft guys. I don't think it's a great move. Billy says we are using the Rooney Rule, and that's why we're interviewing Louis Riddick. I guess it's possible, maybe. I would hope the Jets look at like a Brian Flores and an Aaron Glenn anyway, and you don't have to even worry about the Rooney Rule. There's also limited players the Jets, or limited interviews the Jets could have right now because of all the issues with teams still playing. Big problem. Let's see. Boys and girls, I'll get back to your comments in just a second, but real quick, I want to talk about OddsJam. Look at these results. People are making free money betting on sports, making thousands every month. The secret, they're using OddsJam. OddsJam isn't just another betting app. It's turning the entire system in your favor. Here's how. OddsJam uses a strategy called arbitrage, finding out differences across sports books. You bet both sides, and no matter what the outcome is, you will profit. Here's an example. If you bet $500 on Boise State to win on FanDuel and $335 on the opponent, San Francisco, on DraftKings, you're guaranteed to make $50, win or lose. It's that simple. With OddsJam mobile app, you'll get real-time alerts on these opportunities every day. People are making thousands monthly, and to get you started, use code JETSTALK for 35% off and a 7-day free trial. I guarantee you'll profit during the trial, and if you don't, cancel with one click, no questions asked. Don't leave money on the table. Go to oddsjam.com, use code JETSTALK, and start making money the smart way. OddsJam, thank you so much for sponsoring the channel. Boys and girls, we got about 13 minutes left in this show. Then I'm going to go over and do the Talking Jets show with Dom C. We're going to talk some draft prospects. I want to get his thoughts on 𝐿𝑟 going back to school. That's something we had considered as a possibility. We think he would really do well. He could be a top quarterback in next year's draft. But we were all hoping he'd come out. And we get him a year early to sit behind Aaron Rodgers. So we'll have that coming up at 9 o'clock. Just hang around, and I'll talk to you guys in the chat. Antonio says, Vrabel and Rex, only top 2 coach candidates. Rex were the best days of the Jets fans. Rex and Aaron would be best friends. Rex could be best friends with anyone, I feel like. Clamor says, trade for Michael Mayer for a late round pick. Yeah, what is he, going into the final year of his contract? Is that right? Let's see. Mayer. Maybe 2 years left? So he's got 2025 and 2026. I believe he was a first-round pick, right? Is that accurate? Or was he a second-round pick? No, he's a second-round pick. So he's got 2 years left on his rookie contract. He'd be real cheap. If the Raiders want to trade him plus something else to us, yeah, sure, why not? He's a cheap asset, though, so I don't know why they'd want to move him unless we were giving up something a little bit better. I'm fine with just drafting our tight end, too. J.E. says, it was against the Jaguars, the worst team in the NFL. I'm not being fooled. Yeah. Look, I think there's some context that has to be added to the Jets' last win. I don't think it's a resounding victory, but I think you could look at Rodgers and you could look at Davante and you just could say, okay, that looked right. That looked like he felt good. He was throwing the ball further down the field than we've seen in a long time, and a lot of that has to do with him having time in the pocket. I think Olu being the starter at left tackle has really given Rodgers a lot of confidence. I think Tyron Smith was a big problem for us this year. Roca says, in the second round, tight end, maybe. The Rams, for example, don't expend too much in tight end position is a good example. I think we need Mason or Kentucky guy, defensive tackle pairing with Quinnen. I bring back Solly too. I like Solomon Thomas. I wouldn't be afraid of like moving off of him and trying to keep some of these undrafted free agent guys if we think any of them could take a step up. I certainly wouldn't guarantee Solomon Thomas the role here. If they want to bring him back on a short term, on a small deal where he has to compete, I guess I'm all right with that. Wildwave says, I think Garrett gives the Jets an ultimatum. He either asks for an extension or a trade, no discount either. That's fine. 4 years, $120 million. Get it done, sign it. I don't care. I'm not trading Garrett Wilson. Cactus says, hard to honestly envision playoff drought ending anytime soon. Next year, right? It's always next year. I just want to cover a team with a winning record. I haven't covered a team with a winning record or a playoff opportunity. Heck, we haven't even been competitive. The only time we've really been competitive for a playoff spot since I've been doing this channel was like the final year of Sam, or maybe the first year of Gase with Sam. There was a little run. I guess that run of like Zach Wilson with Mike White, there was some hope we'd get into the playoffs and sneak in, and then all the wheels came off. Man, it sucks having to long for that. Eddie says these first 3 GM candidates are average at best. I agree. I think we could do better. Cast a wide net, though. I'm not opposed to taking a bunch of interviews. Sam just threw a real bad interception. I don't have the iPad up to watch the game right now. I should be watching it. My top 5, Mark D'Antonio, Vrabel, Carroll, Ryan Day, Matt Campbell. All right, I can get down with any one of those. Cactus, OddsJam sounds too good to be true. No, it's actually like legit. Now, the issue with OddsJam, I shouldn't say it's the issue with OddsJam. It's just there's a lot, you need a lot of volume, right? Like, so you're going to find some really good bets that you're going to guarantee, right? Like if you bet 500 on this app and you bet 300 on this app, but somehow the mathematics work out where you're going to net like $50. If you do that across a bunch of different sports all the time, you're going to be making some pretty decent money. Now, it's definitely a pricey product because of how like factually good it is. Like the fact that sportsbooks don't like really get upset with this. I know they don't love OddsJam, but the fact that they don't get upset because it's such a small amount of their market that gets peeled away is fascinating to me. Fascinating. They could charge what they can because of how good it works. I had a lot of fun on the call with the guy showing me everything. I was like, holy smokes. Throw a few bucks down. JD looks 10 years younger, not working under Woody. Can't blame him. He looks happy. I haven't seen any picture of him, but I heard about the fishing story and everything. So that sounds about right. Wild Wave, Ryan, we keeping Keith Carter. If we get Vrabel, I think there's a good chance you do. I think the O-line has been very, very good. Give Garrett an extension. He's a keeper. I agree. Jimmy Jet says, yes, because we have $800 to bet on games. Well, you don't have to bet $800. You can bet smaller amounts. It's all like percentage based. So like if you bet $10, then it might be betting $5 on another app. But it's all about volume, right? And if you're winning a lot, it's not as bad. But certainly don't overextend. Billy, we have a little more than 8 months to the start of the 2025 season. We need to get this defense fixed and get to the playoffs. We need a lot. We need a lot. Matt says, no call-ins. Honestly, I kind of forgot that I didn't turn on the call-in feature. So I was like partway through this stream. So unfortunately, no call-ins tonight. But I'll do another one throughout the week where we'll talk a little bit more. I'll just talk to you guys in the chat for tonight. 𝐂𝐿, if JD did his job and not screw up the coaching, left tackle and quarterback, he would not have worried about Woody getting involved. Yeah, how far back does it go, though? Did Woody force the Zach Wilson pick? There were people in the building that wanted to keep saying, was Joe Douglas one of them? I don't know. I could go down a rabbit hole. Phil says, Rodgers, after healing the Achilles, another year will be better, but he will break down again because of his age. Yeah, look, I'm not going to buy the wild amount of hope that the Jets are going to sell us this offseason. I'm still going to be excited and hopeful that that's what's going to happen, but my expectations will be significantly lower next year than they were either of these last 2 seasons. 𝐂𝐿 says, Jags have bad pass rush, Jets awful coaching staff. So it evens out. Oh, man. Just enjoy the win. Enjoy the win. We don't get many of them, right? Chris is greater than Woody. I would agree, but we're getting stuck with Woody again. Mike says, I don't know about keeping Rodgers. He's not bad, but he's just not going to be another, year older. Yeah, but from a financial standpoint, holding on to him and taking his dead cap hit in 2026 and possibly 2027, if you want to split it over that, is way better from a financial standpoint. We could put together a competitive team that might be able to compete next year. Plus, maybe you get the benefit of grooming a quarterback behind Rodgers. I also think that you probably keep Garrett happy a little bit longer with Rodgers here if he's feeding him the ball than if you pull the plug, you go with a rookie quarterback and he stinks and Garrett probably forces his way out. And I don't love that. I don't love that. Ted says, last head coach who had a winning record for the Jets was Todd Bowles, and then they fired him after his 3rd season. They actually thought Adam Gase was a better option. No, I think, didn't Todd get 5 years? 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And then I think we did 20 and 20. Did we do 19 and 20 with Gase? Or was it 2021? And then 22, 23, 24. No, we had 4 years of Salah. Was Bowles only 4 years? Bowles definitely had more than 3. Sauce is starting to find his groove. I understand a cupcake interception, but he needed that. He's going to be all right. Yeah, look, I don't have any issues with Sauce. I think us playing with a lead will get more opportunities to have situations like that where he can pad his stats a little bit more. In JD's defense, Becton looks really good in Philly, goes back to coaching. Yeah, look, from a talent acquisition standpoint, I've always thought Joe Douglas was able to identify talent. Becton, I feel like, was wildly talented. Zach Wilson, wildly talented. Denzel Mims, wildly talented. Elijah Moore, talented. Lots of talented players, and any player that has the ability to get drafted is a talented player, don't get me wrong. But the RAS score is always off the charts. But I always felt like we had a coaching problem. I really like Joe Douglas. I think he, I don't want to say he got a raw deal because we didn't have success, but I think he's going to be just fine in this league. 𝐂𝐿 says, hire Vrabel, keep Rodgers and Adams, draft Milroe or Dart in the 2nd round. You sign up for that. Yeah, I would. Milroe's really exciting to me. Unfortunately, I do think Milroe is going to have to go in the 1st. And that's where I get a little concerned. And if you're saying, well, would you draft someone in the first and then trade up from the second to go get your quarterback? I'm not there because I feel like if you're trading into the back end of the first, you're giving up the 2026 first round pick, and I don't want to give up that draft pick because that has the potential to be a top 10 pick. So I would say I'm not up for trading 2026's first round pick. If you want to give up a 2026 second round pick, whatever, if you can make it work, fine. Let's see, what do we got? We have 58 minutes. Bottom line, we should have kept JFM. I agree. We should have. Defense would look a lot better. Gase was 2, 19, and 20. So Bowles would have been 15, 16, 17, 18. So 4 years. And then Gase was 19, 20. And then we had 21, 22, 23, 24 with Salah. This is a crappy, cute quarterback class. And now Al-Lar is staying in college. I wouldn't call it crappy. It's not as top-heavy as last year's class, for sure. But it's better than, like, the Kenny Pickett year where he went number 20 and that was the top quarterback taken. Or the Geno Smith. And what year was that? Geno Smith and that's 2013, I think. E.J. Manuel. Terrible. They trade JFM because you couldn't keep him in Reddick's contract. The same reason why Mike Williams got traded. You're not going to keep him on his contract along with Davante Adams. Reasonable. Roka says, how would you deal with the pain of seeing this team always lose? How do you deal with the pain of this team always losing? I'm not even American, and I'm part of a group of 60 Brazilian fans. I've been following the Jets for 6 years, and I literally feel devastated. Well, Roka, I'm glad you're having fun in Brazil, if that's where you're from, or you're just having just a bunch of Brazilian fans. 60 Brazilian Jet fans? Or just Brazilian fans of, like, the country of Brazil and, like, their national teams, and you just so happen to be a Jet fan for 6 years. I don't really know. Either way, I appreciate you for hanging out. You made a horrible decision on teams. Terrible decision. I don't know what to tell you. Becton was bit by the injury bug. Then he had all those weight issues and the right and left tackle drama, and now he's happy playing guard. Yeah, look, when you wind up losing your opportunity to play, you wind up taking any opportunity you can at that point. So frustrating. Would have liked to have seen him here at guard even, but did not work out. All right, our poll question, going to close this up. Looks like which GM candidate do you like the most? Thomas Dimitroff, the Falcons' former GM, 48% of the vote. Louis Riddick, 38% of the vote. John Robinson, Titans GM, 12% of the vote. The voices of the chat have spoken. I appreciate you guys. Before we head out, I do want to acknowledge our sponsor of the channel one more time, BetUS. Get a 150% bonus match on your first deposit up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. How many games do the Jets win the rest of the way out? We got the Rams, the Bills, the Dolphins. Let me know where your money lies. I think the Jets are getting that win week 18 versus the Dolphins. Other than that, I don't think we're stopping the Bills. I don't think we're stopping the Rams. You guys can let me know. I'm going to head over and hang out with Dom C over on the Talking Jets channel, so come join us over there. But until then, this is Jets Talk signing off. Jets.